All right, guys, most investors use launch control to start conversations, but Michael, he has turned it into a 3-part profit machine. He's helping the top investors scale outbound lead gen, retargeting cold prospects across the channel, and turn realtors, investors, sellers, buyers into repeat checks. This isn't just about text blasting. It's about building a system that scales and outsourcing your chaos. So if you're doing acquisitions, wholesaling, or just want to close more deals without working harder, this is the episode you cannot afford to miss. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Closers Club. Michael, so again, a lot of people treat launch control like it's just just an average little texting app, but you figured out a way to turn it into a profit center for your clients. So break down for us, what are the top 3 biggest money-making moves that you're seeing your clients do today?
Yeah, absolutely, David. So, you said it, it's about starting conversations, right? And sometimes those conversations start at the point of cold outreach.
Yeah.
Sometimes they start somewhere in the middle of a nurture cycle when someone just really started to show interest or they needed to make a decision where previously they were in more of an evaluation stage. You have conversations, as you guys know at Easy REI, on the transaction coordination and then later the disposition side, where you're dealing with realtors, you're dealing with buyers, you're having very different conversations, but conversations that also have a profit structure attached to them, right? So at any point of your business, 360-degree view of your business, everyone that you talk to along the customer journey, text is a valuable way to get in touch with them. So
100%.
the question really is, how much of those conversations do you want to utilize text via your CRM? Because let's be clear, most people are going to have a CRM as a center point, and they're probably going to have some texting functionality out of that CRM. We understand that, right? But there are other areas throughout the customer journey where utilizing launch as an outside tool can give you either a complementary channel or just a new way of engaging. So we'll start with outbound, right? Like you said, most people think of launch as cold outreach. And that's still going to be the vast majority of where your profit is coming from launch control, is starting those initial cold outreach conversations to filter 1,000 names down to 100 hand raises and 100 hand raises down to those really core discovery level conversations that are going to earn you tens of thousands of dollars for your business. But here's the thing, with any marketing that you do, right? So if it's text, if it's PPC, if it's direct mail, for every 100 leads that come in, and I'm talking about like gets to your CRM, ready to have a discovery call, ready for your team to engage, what are most investors going to close? Maybe 2, 3 deals out of that 100 at best, right? So for every single marketing channel that you have funneling into your CRM, launch, PPC, otherwise, you're looking at a maximum 3% close rate, which means that you've got 90%, 97% of your leads on average that raised their hand, that showed some level of interest, didn't close, right? So if they raise their hand to a direct mail piece or a text message that talks about distressed property solutions, right, getting cash for your house, and they showed any level of interest in that, they are evaluating, right? If you're sitting on a house in a new community that just got built 2 years ago, it's 100% turnkey. You could use it as an Airbnb right now if you wanted to. You're not answering that direct mail piece because you didn't get it, and 2, you don't need it, right? So those 97, they're viable leads. So it's a question of nurturing. Right? And in your experience, how many companies really nurture in the CRM space beyond 60 to 90 days?
No, almost none. And, I mean, we all say this continuously. I'm on with people every single week. The fortune is in the follow up, and yet people don't do it. So, a couple of things that I love about launch control and texting is one, we're getting to people where they're at. Like whether they're in the bathroom at Walmart or at dinner or driving down the road, we are getting to them where they are at. They're not having to go home, open the mailbox, walk out there, check, because I know I don't do any of those things. Now, direct mail is still good, but texting, we can get them no matter where they're at in their lives. Um, and I love what you talked about there. I think so many people just assume, text blasting or, whatever it used to be that was only for sellers, but it's for buyers too, and making sure that we're staying in front of them and not always like, do you want to sell? Do you want to sell? Just, sometimes it's just value add stuff that, keeps people engaged.
Yeah, and it's about curation.
Yeah.
I think that there's a trend in the industry, and I think we're going
Mhm.
to continue to see this
Yeah.
of basically a maturation process of marketing for REI.
Mhm.
And because there is a blast mentality, and you've heard me say this on countless webinars that
Oh,
we've
yeah.
done together, how much I dislike the phrase text blasting,
Oh,
right?
I
And
was
there,
guilty of it. I used to send 70,000 a week. I was the guy. I'm the guy that probably got the regulations done. I get it.
and look, I don't. You could do volume, right? If you've got the team and the processes in
Mhm.
place, and you can field those, like you can do volume. But
Right.
there's a difference between being strategic about that volume and just
Right.
blasting,
Yeah.
right? So if you look at the buyer side, right? Like let's say, for instance, you've you know in whatever market you're in, you
Mhm.
just secured a great deal, off market deal for a 3 bedroom, 2 bath place in a well known neighborhood, right?
Mhm.
And now you're going to take that and you're going to send it out to what, 300, 400 buyers and be like, hey, is anyone interested? Right? You don't know if they're interested. You don't know what they're buying. You don't know what their current build project portfolio looks like. None of that. You're just saying, hey, if anybody's interested, I got this one, right? And you're if you're doing that on a regular basis,
Right.
it starts to become white noise. They're not listening.
It's
Now, if
true.
you use launch control, you send them a text message and say, look, I want to start a dedicated um, text group with some
Mhm.
people in this market that I
Mhm.
know are buying in the next 90 days.
Yeah.
Do you want to join? And if so, what are you looking to buy? Because I'll go out and find it for you. Right?
Mhm.
I don't know a single buyer out there that wouldn't want to really have good, solid relationships with wholesalers
Mhm.
because they're just deal feeders, right? Like the buyers aren't going out and looking for wholesale deals, but they will
Yeah.
buy from the wholesale investors.
Mhm.
So if you can set up that pipeline where the buyer is telling you exactly what you want,
Yeah.
and you're able to deliver on that, or even get into a bidding situation with a couple of competitive buyers in that market, now
Mhm.
you've narrowed down your focus and you're
Right.
taking a strategic approach with your buyers. And you can utilize launch control to really set that up, and the drip automations in launch control to do that in a at least a semi-automated fashion.
Mhm.
So, this. It's if launch control of easy REI, if we can speed up the
Right.
start to finish
Mhm.
transaction of a deal, and we can get the investor paid faster, then they
Mhm.
can turn back around to their marketing pipeline and start again and
Yeah.
and close another deal. So you speed up that buyer close process. You
Yeah.
just sped up your business, right?
True. Yeah, absolutely. And I love that whole idea of, reaching out to buyers first. That's one thing that, when I was coaching that we talked about start with the end in mind, right? What do people want? I'm not saying you tell me you want a 3 bedroom purple house on a blue hill and I'm just only going to find that, but just get a feel for what it is that people want. Show your buyers that you actually care and you're trying to at least fill, get check 8 out of the 10 boxes, right? But then, yeah, you're just staying in front of them, staying front of mind. Giving them, maybe it's just giving them resources, or hey, here's what's going on in the market. I just wanted you to know. So I think that's absolutely amazing. But let's really break down, how do we build a lead just machine with launch control? Like, what kind of, for the people that are watching, what are those basic steps that you guys can help them with?
Yeah. So I mean, the kind of all-in version of this with launch control is to use our done for you service, launch
Love it.
leads. Right. So with launch leads, all that we need from you is the data that you want to use and maybe some guidance about how you want to segment that data, the strategy that you want to employ in your market. You are your market expert. So
Yeah.
if you want to go after high equity, free and clear kind of properties because that's been your sweet spot, then we need to know that and how you want to segment it. If you want to go after a very specific neighborhood because you have buyers that have genuine interest in that neighborhood, then we need to know that so that we can match the right content to it, etc. Right? But with that data set and that light strategy, we go in, we import the data, we set up the campaigns, we send out the text messages, we field the inbound responses, and anybody that is ready to have a discovery call or shows genuine interest in selling either their home or their land, that's going to get pushed to you or your team to call them within 5-10 minutes. Speed to lead, right?
Love it.
You get on the phone with them 5-10 minutes, you get into that discovery call phase. That's a $10,000 an hour task, right? You're going to make a lot of money off of that, right? So we want you focused there. And what you can also do with our team, if you've got leads coming in from other sources, PPC, direct mail, whatever,
Yes.
then you can export those leads, have the team retarget them through launch control. And if they show renewed activity, again, that gets pushed to you at the point of discovery call. So the math is pretty easy on this. If you take those, let's say you take 400 leads from other marketing sources every quarter or every month if you're doing a lot, right? So it's 400 leads a month, and you're putting those into nurture sequences on launch.
Yeah.
Taking up almost none of the messages that you're paying for launch control, very, very little. But if let's say once a quarter, you convert an extra deal from that retargeting, that's probably $25,000, maybe more, in the bank for your company, which equals an easy 100K. Now, and that's being really, really, cautious.
Conservative. Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that's amazing. And that's something that so few people understand or, realize this is how you can scale your business. So one, launch control or texting is not just for talking to sellers, it's talking to buyers too. But also that's, it is its own standalone, lead gen system, but it perfectly folds into all of the other things, right? Whether you're doing PPL or PPC or direct mail or I don't know, bandit signs, right? Whatever it is, once you get those leads, you can use the texting and the nurture sequencing campaigns to follow up with those people because, one thing we always say is, time and circumstances changes everything. And somebody may not be ready to sell today, but they will be sooner or later. Like something will happen, right? Where that will pop up, and you want them to be front of mind. You don't want them to go back to Google or whatever and start searching for who will buy my house today in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So absolutely,
Exactly.
absolutely love that.
And if they're not in what we always kind of term internally as a money worries situation, they're not going into pre-foreclosure, they don't have a bunch of liens or back taxes or anything like that,
Yeah.
but it's, a cash offer is a viable solution for them.
Right.
If your first conversation is today,
Sure.
then, the likelihood of them being ready to take a cash offer in 30 days, 40 days, kind of slim, right? But the odds of them being ready to come back around to that solution in 4 months or 6 months, much higher.
I'm
Right?
telling you, money's in the follow-up. Yeah. And, then you become that person that they trust because you're there, even though they may not see your smiling face or, you're not sitting in their living room, but you're that person who kept following up, right? Hey, just want to let you know, here's what the market's doing, whatever it is, right? Just always be out there providing value and just try to be a good person and actually help people.
Yeah, and I love what you said there because what we see in launch control, like a number one mistake that we see in follow up is repetitive follow up. Right. So
Yeah.
you'll see drip automations that are going out for 12 months.
Oh
And
my
every
gosh.
single one of those months is like they put into some AI whatever platform. It's like, give me 12 ways to say, are you ready to take a cash offer?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what gets put in there. How about a cash offer? Have you considered a cash offer? I've still got cash, right? And it's just this repetitive thing rather than and this happens on every discovery call. Like every single person that
Yeah.
investor that sends that repeat message gets on
Mhm.
the discovery call and they're great. They talk about solutions. They're really getting into trying to find
Mhm.
the motivation for the homeowner. They're able to frame like, this is how I can help you. I understand your situation. Here's what I can do for you. And all of that empathy and
Yeah.
all of that and that solution providing is
Mhm.
held off for the discovery call. It doesn't
Yeah.
show up in their marketing. But if you
Mhm.
can front load that and you can start to show some of that solution oriented help,
Mhm.
that empathy, that understanding of situation, the speed of resolution, all of the things that you're going to get to
Mhm.
naturally on the discovery call, front load some of that.
Yeah.
That will get you a much quicker response, or a much
Mhm.
better, a much higher likelihood of them coming back around and saying, you know what, I do want to do this. I've been
Yeah.
contacted by 15 people offering the same thing, but I'm going to go with you because.
Yeah.
Right?
And if I was starting a new text campaign, sure, the first one or two are going to be, hey, are you interested in selling? But, the third one might be, hey, it doesn't sound like, you're looking to sell to me, but hey, here's an article I found on how to stage your house, right? For
Yeah.
a quick sale. Give them that, because what they're gonna, go through that and read and go, oh shit, I don't want to do all that stuff. Or, hey, here's the best way to start interviewing realtors. Ask them all of these questions. God, I don't want to do that. But hey, if you
Yeah.
just want a cash offer, whenever you're ready, I'm here. Hey, I know you're not planning on selling anytime soon, so as long as you're staying in Chattanooga, make sure you try out this pizza place, right? Like, just something other than
There's
just
been a
beating
lot of
them.
confusion about commission structure for
Yeah,
agents lately. Here's what you can
love it.
expect to pay them, right?
Right.
Well, I don't
Do
want
not,
to pay them anything.
bro, I am on a text message that I'm getting every day or day and a half from somebody who wants me, it's an affiliate thing. It's the same message. Finally, I'm like, I want to be like, bro, you're my friend, but please stop sending me this text message. You're driving me crazy.
Yeah.
you know so yeah, break it up a little bit. Provide some value for people. That's what's going to make people want to work with you. We're in the trust market, or whatever they're calling it now. Just try to help
Well,
people.
and like speaking of AI tools, right? It's so easy to do that now,
Yeah.
where you can write a very simple prompt where you can just say, like, here are the core value props for my company.
Hmm.
Give me 12 individual messages that highlights those
Yeah,
value props.
I love that.
And it'll churn it out for you. And all you have to do is a little bit of light editing and
Yeah.
you'll have it, right? So the staging that, staging your engagement over a series of months is
Yeah.
exponentially easier now than it ever has
Oh
been.
my
So,
gosh.
yeah.
Dude, it's, with what you guys do and what you can, what you provide and what I can get with ChatGPT. Like, it's so easy now. It boggles my mind when people are like, wholesaling is so hard. I'm like, bro, go back to 2009. Let me explain to you what life was like before any of this stuff existed.
Right,
I'm out on Friday nights hammering in bandit signs. Like, that was
right.
what the world was. Like,
You're in
things.
a car with a yellow notepad driving by crappy houses, writing down
Yeah, which
addresses.
I still like driving for dollars, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was just so much more difficult, and there was no resources, there was no access to money. I mean, it's just incredible, what's available now. So, and absolutely, of course, love what you guys are doing. That's why we definitely wanted to partner with you and do more things together.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Right.
we fit such a complementary role
Hmm.
that, for we've talked about this a lot, like the
Hmm.
core activities that any investor really, where they really should be spending their time, are those high dollar value tasks,
100%.
right? And transaction coordination and lead gen
Yeah.
are very vital, necessary things, but they're things that they can outsource.
Yeah.
And by outsourcing them,
Hmm.
focus their attention on those high value tasks. And look, I gave that simple analogy. If you closed one more deal per quarter, it'd be 100
Yeah.
grand in business.
Yeah.
Well, if you think of all the time that, if you try to do this as a solo entrepreneur, the
Hmm.
time that you take to like really set up launch control and get it moving instead of
Hmm.
using launch leads, or the time that you spend kind of running through transaction coordination, which once you get it
Yeah.
is something you don't, as a business owner, don't have to do. And you think of
Hmm.
the hours that you put into that, and
Hmm.
then if I had that many more hours
Yeah.
dedicated to discovery calls, what would I make?
What could you be making? Right. All right, Michael, last question. I'm gonna put you on the gun here. Got 30 seconds. If if somebody gave you a new market and you were brand new there, you had zero presence, how do you use launch control to scale that in 30 days? What are the things you're gonna do? One, two, three.
Okay, yeah. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have launch leads, get them some data to
Mm-hmm.
go after in that market. They're going to
Right.
identify all of the leads that are discovery call ready. Going to push that to the investor. The investor is going to close the deal. Once
Mm-hmm.
they close that deal, they're going to work with your team to get the
Yeah.
transaction coordination done,
Love
and then they're
that.
going to pair with one of our disposition partners like New Western or OfferPad to get that
Mm-hmm.
that that sold without having boots
Mm.
on the ground. and then they're going to turn back and do it again.
Love it. Guys, this is something that you can implement in your business. Even if you've got an existing business and you're working in a couple of markets, pick another market. I talk about it all the time. It's all over my channel. I'm sure Michael does too. But you can literally test this out in a new market and see that this works and that this is the way that you can grow your business in a way that's safe and compliant and not going to get you sued. Do not be out there trying to wing this. There are laws around this type of stuff now. So definitely, I'll drop the link here below. Definitely go over to Launch Control, check it out. This is absolutely something you should be implementing in your business for all of the things that we've talked about here today. Awesome. Michael, thank you so much, man. I do appreciate it. I know you're out of the office and doing fun things, so I appreciate you taking the time and jumping on today.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to chat.